I think Will Lee, your boundary corner, he's as sturdy and as strong as they come. I think he's one of the kind of underrated corners going into the season. And I'm looking forward to him versus Cam Coleman. I think it could be a really fun matchup. And of course, we don't expect to stop Cam, but it could be something fun to watch because we didn't have Will Lee last year in that game. He went down after, giving up a touchdown to Cam Coleman in that first drive last year. He went down. And I'm really excited to watch that matchup.
What's up, everybody? Welcome on into the Auburn Express, powered by the War Rapport. We are here. Thank you so much for turning us up and turning us on. We're talking Texas A&M, and back from our season preview is my guy, Drew Tamu, talking a little bit about the Aggies versus the Tigers at Kyle Field coming up this Saturday. Drew, how's it feeling today, man?
Feeling good, man. Another huge SEC game. It feels like we just get these every week once the season gets rolling, man. I can't wait to get to it.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to this game as well. Auburn coming off of a tough loss versus Oklahoma. Texas A&M coming off the bye week, getting the chance to recuperate a little bit here. Talk to me about how you're feeling about the first three games, though, for Texas A&M. Already some tough tests in the season, but they've been able to survive.
Yeah, it's been what I would say is kind of an ideal ramp up into your season. I mean, you get an early bye week, but that comes after, a major game, a game that had you battling to the bitter end, a game that saw your quarterback leave the game for a minute. So it feels really good to get those two kind of ramp up games under your belt, the two lesser G5 opponents, and then going and beating Notre Dame. That's a huge hump for A&M to get over. I mean, A&M hadn't won a ranked road game in 10 years, if you can believe that. So we got a big one under our belts, and we're feeling pretty good about the team. Obviously, you're early in the year. You're still trying to work on a lot of things. You still want to see progressions, but I think in terms of just doing what you got to do and seeing what you want to see, we're feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, I mean, so far it's been what I expected on the offensive side, a dynamic attack that has both passing and rushing offenses looking well. Let's talk about that a little bit. Right now, averaging 42.3 points per game are the Texas A&M Aggies, over 480 yards per game. Tell me about what's working right for that Texas A&M offense.
Yeah, well, you bring in the two transfer portal receivers, and we were excited about him. It was Mario Craver from Mississippi State, freshman last year, had a pretty decent role, but not a guy that blew us away as a freshman. And then Casey Concepcion coming off of kind of maybe a sophomore slump last year, but busted onto the scene as a freshman. And I think the feeling going into the season was that this was a run-first team, and I'm sure people across the country felt that too. It's like you see A&M, you see Le'Veon Moss, you see a couple of good running backs behind them, and an offensive line that brings 7 of their primary players back. And it's like, okay, this team's going to pound the rock. Colin Klein's going to run this ball. And that has just not turned out to be their method of going about things. It's been a pass-heavy attack. It's been an explosive offense. And to be fair, just like we thought this was going to be a run-heavy attack, opponents thought that too. So they're selling out for run. We're seeing an extra guy in the box consistently. And A&M said, okay, we got these shiny tools in the portal. Let's put them to work. Let's see what we can do. Let's see Marcel Reed's development. And I wouldn't say it's been perfect for Marcel Reed, but I think where we wanted to see progressions, we have seen them. We've seen him sit in that pocket. We've seen him scan the field, go through progressions. We've seen him kind of learn that he can manipulate safeties, manipulate zone coverage with his eyes. And we're seeing appropriate progressions. But really what's making this thing go is you got a couple of receivers that are just breathtaking athletes with the ball in their hands. So, I mean, you could have a 10-yard comeback just become a 30-yard gainer just by way of players just making stuff happen. You can have a bubble screen go for a 30-yard touchdown, because it turns out those two guys we thought were pretty good in the portal, they've been elite so far in the year, and that has been the engine that drives this A&M offense. But, of course, offensive line, it's been solid. Kind of sloppy playing down to opponents the first two games, but against Notre Dame, protected really well, run blocked well enough. And it just feels like this offense is in a really good place to keep building, because at some point we feel that defenses will adjust to this threat of pass, and maybe that'll open up the run game. Maybe the read of run and the RPOs will start opening up. So we really feel like this is a great place, a great bye week to kind of regroup and start building forward because of what we put on the field so far.
Yeah, you talked about Marcel Reed. Right now, he is 58.6% on the season, 869 yards with 9 touchdowns through the first 3 games there. Those dynamic receivers you talked about, Craver and Concepcion. Craver, 20 receptions for 443 yards, averaging 22.2 per catch with 4 touchdowns. KC, another 13 catches for 227, averaging, again, a staggering 17.5 per catch with 3 touchdowns. And then you've got Bussey, who's been contributing as well. And then the other guy, I want to make sure I get his name correct here, Roman,
Ashton Bethel Roman. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Bethel Roman. He's also been kind of a revelation as a guy off of the bench that looks to factor in a little bit more into the offense as you guys move forward into the season. So like you said, the receiving core has looked solid for Texas A&M. The run game, still averaging over 5 yards per carry when you look at the 2 top rushers there, with Moss and Marcel Reed being factored into that. 5 total touchdowns on the ground so far for those 2. So again, it's a balanced attack, though it has been very explosive through the air. And to your point, I think a lot of defenses have said, okay, we've got to come in. We've got to stop the run. Texas A&M has shown that they can air it out a little bit on you as well. Not a little bit, a lot, to the tune of 323.5 yards per game so far, offensively passing. Have you had a chance to look at any of the Auburn games? And when you look at the Auburn defense, are there any things that you look at and you're like, I don't know, this is going to be a tough matchup for Texas A&M?
Yeah, I mean, I think that front seven is, a quality SEC front seven that can get after Marcel Reed. And for Marcel, he's been solid when the pocket is solid, but when he has to be flushed out, of course, he can make you pay up with his legs and he can run for it. But when he has to throw on the run, things get a little bit dicier. His accuracy against Notre Dame, I think, when blitzed, not even under pressure, but just when blitzed, dropped to 38%. So when he feels and sees pressure, that can be scary. And I see a very effective front seven, highlighted by number 15, who y'all are moving around all over the place. I mean, I see y'all on third downs, moving them inside, moving them outside, see if you can get that speed advantage. So I definitely look at that pass rush that Auburn can generate, 24 off the edge as well. And I see some guys that can maybe get into Marcel Reed's head just because that's where he's been weak. I don't think I see a secondary on the schedule that's going to shut down receivers that A&M has right now, but we'll see. They're going to be tested every single week. So I'm curious to see that matchup there, but I'm definitely looking at a front seven that can be disruptive, that, was able to get after an offensive line at OU that we feel like we have a better offensive line than, and I would have that whole group circled for Auburn because I think that's a pretty nasty group.
Yeah. I mean, to your point there, the front seven has played well. Those back, the DBs have not been good for Auburn. Auburn giving up right now 232.8 passing yards per game. And it seems they have been giving up really a lot of explosive passes, particularly against the 2 Power 5 opponents that Auburn has faced. Did well versus Oklahoma for the vast majority of that game, but it faltered late. And Auburn's just got to be able to put together a complete game in that secondary to be able to make sure teams, and when you have a team like Texas A&M that's coming in with multiple dynamic pass catching threats, it makes it that much more difficult for those secondaries to cover. So that's something I'm also going to be taking a close look at, is how well is Auburn getting to the quarterback and how well are they defending down the field, particularly in limiting, as you said, those short catches from turning into more explosive longer ones.
You've got to tackle. Yes, sir.
We always want to shout out our sponsors, and we encourage our listeners to support our sponsors. That includes Amen Associates. I know what some of you might think. I don't have enough money for a financial advisor, or maybe it hasn't crossed your mind at all. But the truth is, nearly everyone can benefit from financial guidance. The best part, there's no upfront costs. Abel's I&O Moore and Associates offer an initial consultation so you can see if they're the right fit for your needs. It's not just about investing. It's about creating a plan that gives you flexibility and helps you build wealth over time for yourself and your family. Call Abel's I&O Moore and Associates at 912-777-4128 or visit AINC.com. I'm confident you'll be glad you did. Guys, I can't stress enough, you don't need $1 million to need a financial advisor. You just need a paycheck and some dreams and some goals, or somebody that you care about that you want to provide for, and these guys can help you. The War Rapport has been compensated by Abel's I&O Moore and Associates for this endorsement. AIM and Associates is a registered investment advisor. Registration as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. The information in this advertisement is for informational purposes only and should not be considered personalized investment advice. All investing involves risks. That includes the loss of potential principal, and past performance is not indicative of future results.
We're in here talking to Drew Tamu, talking a little bit of Auburn versus Texas A&M. We're going to flip it over to the other side of the football and talk about the Texas A&M defense. You've got a defensive-minded head coach and Coach Elko. How have you felt about how that defense has played thus far through the first three?
Well, the confidence I exude about the offense definitely will decrease when we're talking about the defense because it hasn't been perfect. It hasn't been, that Mike Elko stamp of approval defense that we got in his last year in 2021 as a defensive coordinator, where we were 5th in scoring defense. It's been a bit of a mixed bag. You can go back to game 1 versus UTSA, who for a G5 has a good offense, but first half, you were giving up gash plays in the run game. You were misfitting. You were taking bad angles. You were letting go of outside contain. When you would show your blitz, they were running right at you. You weren't just maintaining discipline on defense, and that's been cleaned up in a pretty decent way. I would say the run defense has taken its strides game on game, but Notre Dame, obviously, you're looking at a couple of really, really good running backs and a good offensive line. They were able to pass the ball late against A&M, and most of that came by way of zone coverage breakdowns. I think that was a problem for A&M last year that we saw front and center against Auburn in that overtime thriller where, we have zone defenders that as soon as things get past that first level, there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of inconsistency out there. So that's a place where we're looking to get a lot better. Just that zone, passing off your assignments, communicating well, adjusting to motion in the backfield. I feel like we've gotten caught up not adjusting correctly to those kind of looks. But, there have been some good things from this defense. I think as many bad plays, as many explosives you give up against Notre Dame, you had probably just as many game-changing tackles for losses or goal line stands or short yard stops that make you feel pretty good and hopeful about the defense. It's just, can they find some consistency as a unit? Can they stop giving up explosives that, affected them versus Notre Dame and, quite frankly, doomed them last year? So it's finding that consistency. A&M's going to be without starting free safety Bryce Anderson. Went down in a very scary way against Notre Dame. Really scary head-neck contact. A couple bodies going into him, and he won't be starting. So A&M will be starting 2 typical strong safeties out there, and we saw that tandem when utilized last year struggle a little bit in zone coverage. So that's kind of where we're at. It's a mixed bag defensively. We're progressing in run defense, but the pass stuff, we'll see how they handle that. I do like matchup for matchup, whoever we're going against. I like their tandem at nickel and corner. I think Will Lee, your boundary corner, he's as sturdy and as strong as they come. I think he's one of the kind of underrated corners going into the season. And I'm looking forward to him versus Cam Coleman. I think it could be a really fun matchup. And of course, we don't expect to stop Cam, but it could be something fun to watch because we didn't have Will Lee last year in that game. He went down after, giving up a touchdown to Cam Coleman in that first drive last year. He went down, and I'm really excited to watch that matchup. And then Des Ricks on the other side became somewhat of a liability last year. His actually started the year really strong. So that's a good tandem out there. It's the safety group. It's that outside contain with your ends and linebackers. It's just taking correct running, tackling angles in open field that have us kind of nervous.
Yeah, I mean, so the matchup you already highlighted is a big one, I think, for this game. Cam Coleman, man, I don't know if you actually watched the Oklahoma game, but
I did.
He might as well have just camped out in downfield because he was open consistently versus Oklahoma. Now, different kind of DB he's going to be going up against. More like last game, it was a freshman. A lot of talent, but just wasn't able to really do what he needed to do to keep Cam Coleman under wraps. Will Lee, very different kind of guy. He's a coverage guy. You can leave him out there on the island, but that's going to be a matchup I'm definitely looking at to see, is Cam winning that consistently? How are they getting the ball to him? And then on the other side, you mentioned Des Ricks. He's going to be going up against a couple of different guys opposite of Cam Coleman, whether that's going to be Horatio Fields or whether they're going to flex out and put Eric Singleton out wide. So Auburn's going to have some opportunities there to try to figure out where the matchups are. I'm definitely looking forward to that. But the guy that makes it go, in my opinion, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, is Torian York there for that Texas A&M defense. He's the guy that really calls it all together and gets everybody lined up. How have you felt about the play of York so far through these first 3?
Well, York's benefit to a defense is noticeable every play because he's the one getting people aligned. He's the one that kind of has an understanding of what offenses are trying to accomplish. And you'll see him yelling back to the third level, yelling to the first level, slide, watch this, watch that. And that's been great. And early in the season, I think he had his best game in the opener. He was all over the place, 10 tackles in the game, couple tackles for losses. But I think he struggles if he's not on time. I think he can be a guy that, if there's eye candy and if he happens to take a false step, he is limited athletically, but he makes up for that with the intangibles. So I would say it's always a positive when Torian York's on the field for you because he just helps your defense. He helps them align. He helps them understand what's happening. But I think he's actually a guy that, a lot of that kind of, jet sweep motion that Auburn throws, if he's not, on his assignment, that's maybe a place you can take advantage of because we saw versus Baylor, some of that stuff really caused that middle linebacker, that quarterback assignment to flow away from that quarterback read. So we're looking at Torian York to be correct more than he's wrong in this one because that could be a big factor in the game because, again, I think he's like 5'11". He's kind of a stockier build. He's not going to cover a ton of ground. But when he's on time, sure tackler, of course, great leader, great energy guy for the team.
Last person I really want to talk about here on this defense is Marquise Radcliffe. He's kind of burst onto the scene here, transfer over into Texas A&M. What has he looked like for you guys in these first couple of games, and what should Auburn fans expect when they see him flash?
Yeah, he's our go-to box safety, super physical safety, almost looks like a linebacker out there. And against these running attacks that we've seen like Notre Dame, you're seeing him line up in the box, and that's been the adjustment is like really bringing him into that run game, really having him kind of as that pseudo outside linebacker. And just been really physical. I think A&M struggles with run support in the secondary, but that is not the case for Marcus Radcliffe. This man will play at the line of scrimmage. This guy will get downhill. This guy will wrap up. And that's been great. He's been a great revelation. And it was kind of something we sensed through the offseason cycle. We heard early in fall camp, this guy really took strides in the weight room, really took this thing to heart. Came in last year as a transfer from San Diego State, I think it was. And he was a star there as a freshman, but obviously that's a big jump coming to SEC football. But I think in terms of run support and just kind of being that in the box safety, he's been as good as we could have asked. And when I'm talking about a lot of the issues A&M's has defensively, he's definitely one that's not part of that. And he's been a really solid piece.
Yeah, Marcus Radcliffe definitely flashed out there. When I'm taking a look at the tape, I'm like, yeah, this guy's a thumper. He's going to come downhill. He's going to be because I think it's going to be important, a guy like Marcus Radcliffe, because I don't think you can count on Torian York, no disrespect to him, to be your spy on a guy like Jackson Arnold who's going to utilize his legs. Marcus Radcliffe, in my ability, is the guy that needs to be able from that really third level playing down in the second level as a box safety that needs to be able to rally and get to the football if Jackson Arnold's going to be able to escape the pocket in this game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And Jackson Arnold will be the first quarterback that A&M faces this year that really uses the legs and really has ability there. So it's going to be a really interesting dynamic to see how A&M handles that. I'm totally with you. Marcus Radcliffe's a great candidate there. Our outside linebacker, Scooby Williams, he might be involved with that, but he is coming off of an injury. He's day-to-day right now. We're going to get, I think, our first, SEC mandated injury report today. So we'll see what that looks like. But I think Radcliffe has a huge role in that regard this game. That's absolutely right.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the third phase before we get to some predictive type of things, and we're talking about special teams here for the Texas A&M Aggies. How's that look for you as far as coverages are going, kicking is going? What's been the feel about how Texas A&M's special teams have been?
It's been really good. There have been a couple of bad plays. We gave up a punt block for a touchdown against Notre Dame. I think we've had a couple of lackluster punts, but in terms of coverage, in terms of field goal kicking, and in terms of specifically the return game, it's been great this year. We're getting maybe not a touchdown or a huge, explosive every return, but we're getting positive yardage on returns. Terry Bussey's returning kickoffs. If he has an opportunity, he will return them. He's not letting anything inside that 5 get behind him. We're not fair catching there. We're letting Bussey go. And in that Notre Dame game, Bussey had a go-ahead touchdown late in that game that got called back by a very far from the play holding call that was pretty unfortunate. Ended up being a blessing in disguise because we got to milk the clock. But Bussey's a threat at kickoff. And then Casey Concepcion on punts, man. I mean, he's taught to just get low and get past that first level of defenders. And once he gets into open field, Casey Concepcion's as lethal as they come. So return game is looking really, really strong and promising. We're very, very happy with that. Field goal kicker Randy Bond was nails against Notre Dame. You had 2 back-to-back pressure kicks to keep that game close and tied up late in the game. He nails them both. He actually lost the job in fall camp to Jared Zirkle, transfer from Georgia, and he earned it back mid-season, like within the first couple of games of the year, went out and had a great field goal kicking game against Notre Dame. But I think we're in a really good place. Tyler White, the punter, I don't think he started the year he would have the way he would have liked to. He had a couple coffin corners last year, some highlight reel punts, if you can believe that, last year, but it has not been the case so far. We know he has the ability. We want to see that get a little bit better. But I think in terms of special teams, we feel like we're in a really, really good place.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, that has been kind of an issue for Auburn so far this season. So hopefully that will not come back to bite them. Vegas says 6.5 in favor of Texas A&M. ESPN's FPI says 68.4% chance Texas A&M comes away with this victory. Players during media days expressed that they were looking for some get back from that overtime thriller last year in on the Plains. Give me your perception on how you feel like this game is going to go. Texas A&M wins this game if. How are you feeling on it?
Yeah, there's a couple intangibles I think I want to bring up because A&M's coming off of a bye week, and that can either be your best friend or you could start lackadaisical. You could start a little bit sluggish. And I think the start to this game, especially for a team on the road, Auburn wanted to come in here and make a statement early, and A&M's maybe starting slow. That could be a defining factor in this game. I think the way both teams come out will really, really impact the way this game goes. So I'm looking at A&M to start fast. And for Auburn, their side of the intangibles, you're coming off of an emotionally draining, very close, and quite frankly, disappointing game because things didn't go your way that were out of your hands with that official stuff. That, the way that whole referee, we all know about it, went down. I mean, we want to see how both teams kind of respond off of some extenuating circumstances the week before with the bye week and then just a weird, disappointing loss to OU. So I'm really curious to see how this game gets going. I think the over-under set at around 53. I think I'm smashing the over in this game. I think that A&M's offense is in a place to where, even against some upper echelon defenses, and I think Auburn has a good defense, that A&M will still find a way to score points just because they have so many ways to attack you. But on the other side of that, I see a stable of weapons that Auburn has in an A&M defense that hasn't been clicking just yet, even though, a lot of us, including myself, think that this A&M defense has a chance to get going as the year goes on. They haven't been clicking yet. And this Auburn offense feels like it's just, Jackson Arnold locking in for a game away from being absolutely nasty. So I think there's a lot of points in this game. I'm hitting the over. Right now, my early feel is a slight cover at home, like a touchdown or so win for A&M at home. But this is a game where, you see what Auburn has, and if they can go out and just bring their A game on the road, that they can really turn their season for in the right direction with games versus Georgia, games on the road against Vandy, and then the Missouri game coming right up in a few weeks. This is the one that can set them up for success. So it's a game against wounded animal mode team, what we're looking at A&M. It's a team with kind of backs against the wall, a team that feels like they played well enough to win on the road last week that they feel like they could probably come out and do it again. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I'm confident enough in this team to just give them basically that spread win. But it's a scary game. I anticipate this game going back and forth. I've already told my Aggies, expect to be down in this game, expect this game to be back and forth, expect this game to be super competitive, and expect to be nervous.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to the game myself. I will be right down there in Kyle Field checking this one out live. So hopefully you all will have an excellent Saturday as well. Drew, in case people want to get on and talk a little bit about this game with you all in Aggie Land, how can they find your content?
Yeah, I'm at Drew Tamu at both X and YouTube. Those are my two main platforms. I'm going to go live Thursday night. I invite Auburn fans to come in and call in. I actually have a really good time with Auburn fans. I've been doing the Auburn preview video every year, and I always try to do right by my opponents. I don't try to do a bunch of trash talk. We try to be as to the point as we can, and I appreciate the Auburn faithful because they've been pretty good to us on the channel.
Absolutely. Well, we're looking forward to it, man. We're going to get out of here. You know who we are. We're the War Rapport. You make sure that you tap in with us everywhere. And if you haven't already, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, share the content with somebody. We'll be back on game day with our game day lives right here. Until the next time. And as always, War Eagle, I am out.